sitting out on the windowsill at this uncomfortable height. Now you've already climbed this far. Anyway, I can see. The sky outside behind you is dark, but it's still lighter than the darkness in this room. You've dropped your torch.
Lost it.
There's no point in looking for it on the floor. I'll turn on the light.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, there you are then. The situation becomes more comfortable straight away the moment we can see one another. But you're quite an old man.
Are you expecting a young one?
Certainly. Something of the sort. And pick up your torch. It's over to the right of the chair.
Beg your pardon. Lost it again. Seems I've knocked over a Chinese vase now. And another.
Amphora.
It's ruined. I'm so very sorry.
It doesn't matter. I shan't have an opportunity of missing them anyway.
It really isn't my job to scramble at the outsides of houses and break into them. Things they ask a man to do nowadays. I don't know. I really am sorry to have been so clumsy, sir.
These things happen.
I thought...
You thought I would be asleep in another room. I understand. You really could not have known that I would be awake, still awake at this time of night.
Normal people are in bed at this time of night.
In normal times.
Your wife?
Have no fear. My wife is dead.
Have you any children?
My son is in some concentration camp or other.
Daughter?
I have no daughter.
You write books. Room is full of them.
I am a writer.
Does anyone read the books you write?
They are read everywhere where they are forbidden.
Where they are not?
They are hated.
Do you employ some sort of secretary, male or female?
The wildest rumors must go around the circles you move in about the kind of money a writer makes.
In other words, there is, at this moment, no one else in the flat?
I am alone.
Good. That is good. We need absolute quiet. You must understand that.
Of course.
It is sensible of you not to make any difficulties for me.
You've come to kill me.
That is my business.
You kill for hire?
My trade.
I always had an obscure feeling that there must be hired killers in this country as well.
Always the way, sir. I am the public executioner of this country for the last 50 years.
I see. You are the executioner.
Were you expecting anyone else?
No, not strictly speaking.
You are meeting the situation with great self-control.
You express yourself with precision.
Nowadays, I mainly have to do with educated people.
Won't you sit down?
I'll just perch on the desk if that doesn't bother you.
Make yourself at home. May I offer you a drink?
Thank you, but not till afterwards. I never drink beforehand to keep my hand steady.
I can understand that, only it means you'll have to help yourself afterwards. I bought it especially for you.
You knew you had been sentenced to death?
In this country, everything has been condemned to death. There's nothing left for a man to do but stare out the open window at the boundless sky and wait.
For death?
For the assassin, or whom else. In this accursed country, everything is a matter for calculation, for it is the primitive that is absolutely clearly arranged. Things follow a course as logical as if one was in a mincing machine. The Prime Minister attacked me. One knows what that implies. His Excellency's speeches are in a habit of producing unaesthetic consequences. My friends decided to stay alive, and since anyone who came to see me was sentencing himself to death, they withdrew. The state confined me within the walls of its prescription, but sooner or later they would have to break through the prison of my isolation. Sooner or later they would have to send a man to see me, if only to give me my death. wanted to prove to him that a free man is not a frightened man. And here you are.
The hangman.
With whom there is no point in talking.
You despise me?
Who could ever respect you, the most despicable of men?
But you would have respected an assassin.
I would have loved him like a brother, and I would have fought with him like a brother. And in the triumphant hour of my death, my spirit would have conquered him. But now it is a civil servant who comes through the window, who kills, and who will one day receive pension for the killing he does, so that he may go sleep on his sofa, sated like a spider. Welcome, hangman.
Not at all.
You're embarrassed. Understandably, a hangman is not good at giving answers. I am delighted to make your acquaintance.
You're not afraid?
No. How do you propose to carry out this execution?
In silence.
Of course, there are other families in the house to be considered.
I have a knife with me.
Surgically, then, so to speak. Will it be painful?
Happens quickly. Over in seconds.
Have you killed many in this way before?
Yes. Many.
Good. I'm glad the state at least sends an expert and not a beginner. Is there anything special I have to do?
If you would be so good as to undo your collar.
May I have a cigarette first?
Of course. Matter of principle that I grant everybody. There's not all that hurry about the rest.
A camel. Will you have one too?
Afterwards.
Of course. You do everything afterwards on account of your hand. I'll leave them next to the brandy.
Oh, you're most kind.
One is always kind to dogs.
May I give you a light?
Thank you. And there. My collar is now open.
I really am very sorry for you, sir.
I find the whole situation a bit regrettable myself.
Actually, you're quite lucky it all has to happen like this at night. Or quite private.
I feel honored.
Well, you're a writer.
Well,
You'd be all for freedom then.
just that.
You're all for freedom. Won't I have to kill?
What could an executioner know about freedom?
Nothing, sir.
Exactly.
You've stubbed out your cigarette.
I'm a little nervous.
Would you like to die now?
Another cigarette, if I may.
Please. Most of them smoke another cigarette beforehand and then another. Nowadays it's American and English. Used to be French or Russian.
I can imagine. The cigarette before dying and the talk with you. I wouldn't like to forego that.
Even though you despise me.
One gets used to what one despises, but when one does, it's high time one was dead.
Let me give you another light.
Thank you.
Everyone has just a touch of fear.
Yes, a touch.
One does not willingly give up his own life.
When there is no justice left, he gives it up easily enough. But then, you wouldn't know anything about justice either.
Oh, no, sir. Justice is something you folk on the outside have, I think. Let them learn something from it if they can. Anyways, you always have an alternative. Here I am, lived for 50 years in prison. And it's only lately they've taken to sending me outside, and that only at night. Every now and again I read the newspaper. Every now and again I turn on the radio, and then I do catch something of the raging current of destiny, the unceasing rise and fall of the mighty and the resplendent, the thunderous passage of their retinues, and the mute surrender of the weak. But where I am, everything stays the same, always the same grey walls and the same damp running down, and the same twinkling stars on the roof, looking almost like the map of Europe in the atlas. Always the same walk, the long dark passage into the grey light of dawn, and always the same pale figures dressed in shirt and trousers being led toward me. Always the same stroke falls on the innocent and the guilty. Strike like a hammer, strike like a hatchet. No one asks.
After all, you are the executioner.
After all, I am the executioner.
What is the important thing to an executioner?
The way a man dies, I think.
The way a man is slaughtered, you mean?
Oh, there are considerable differences.
Tell me those differences.
It is more or less the art of dying you are asking about.
Seems to me the only art which we must master nowadays.
Now, I know neither if it is possible to teach this art nor how one learns it. All I know is that bunglers are brought to me along with the great masters. Perhaps it might all be easier for me to understand if I knew more about human beings in real life, just what it is they're up to during all that length of time they spend before being brought to me, just what it all means. Marrying, having children, doing business, being honorable, handling machines, gambling, drinking, doing politics, driving the plow, sacrificing themselves for one's country or ideas, striving after power, and all the other things they do. They must be good folk or bad folk, humdrum and exceptional according to circumstances, background or religion, according to the money they've been given to shape their lives, or according to the hunger that forces them to make something of their lives. I don't know the whole truth about human beings, no. I only know my truth.
Tell me about it, this hangman's truth.
At first I used to imagine it all very simply. I was, grant you, a stupid brute, powerful animal, the job of executioner. But then I thought to myself, life is everything a man has to lose. Other than life, nothing exists, and a man who loses life is a poor devil indeed. It was for this reason that I became an executioner myself some 50 years ago. I had grown up like a wild animal then, and the court let me keep my life, demanding in return that I become a hard-working hangman. And one had to deserve one's life as well. And so I became an executioner. And the same reason a man on the outside might become a baker or a general in order to live. There was just as much life being an executioner. Was this not honestly reasoned?
Certainly.
Nothing seemed more natural to me than that a bloke should defend himself when he was to die, that a furious struggle should take place between him and me until I had his head on the block. This is how the wild lads of the forest died, who had killed in a sudden rage or done a robbery to buy scarlet petticoats for their girls. I understood them and their passions, and I loved them. I was one of them, don't you see? And there was crime in their action, and there was justice in my execution. The reckoning was clear, and it worked. They died a healthy death.
I understand you.
But then there were others who died in a different way, although sometimes it seemed to me that it was the same death. They treated me with contempt. They died proudly. Made fine speeches beforehand, made mock of the government, attacked the rich or the tyrants till it sent shivers down your spine. These ones died like that, I suppose, because they believed they were in the right of it, and maybe they were at that. They wanted to show me just what a matter of indifference death was to them. And here too, reckoning was clear-cut and simple. There was war between them and me. They died in contempt and anger, and I struck in anger. Justice was with the both of us, I think. They died an impressive death.
A fine death. I hope many are able to die like that these days.
That is the funny thing, sir. They don't die like that, not anymore.
How is that, you wretch? Today every man is a rebel who dies at your hands.
I too think that many would like to die like that, sir.
Everyone is free to die in whatever way he chooses.
In this case, sir, not anymore. This a question of the necessary audience. Under the old governments, it was a different thing. Then, an execution was an occasion in which one solemnly put in an appearance. The judge was there, the public prosecutor, defending counsel, doctors, several reporters, other inquisitive parties, all dressed in black frock coats, as if it was a public ceremony. And sometimes there was even a drum roll added into the bargain to make the occasion really impressive. Then, it was still worth a condemned man's while to make fiery speeches of denunciation, and the public prosecutor, more often than not, would get very angry and bite his lip. But today, things have changed. You die, alone, with me, not even a priest there, and there's no court either. And since they despise me, they no longer say anything either. And the death they die is not right. The reckoning is not balanced. The condemned man is getting short measure. And so, they die like beasts, indifferently, and that is not the right art of dying. When there has been a trial beforehand, and the state finds one necessary from time to time, the public prosecutor and the judge do put in an appearance. The condemned man is a broken thing, who allow anything to be done to him. Then it is a wretched death. Times have changed, sir.
Times have changed, and even the hangman realizes it.
Simply amazes me the things that go on in the world today.
The hangman is one of those things, my friend. I wanted to die like a hero too, and now here I am, alone with you.
Alone with me in the dead of night.
There's nothing left for me to do but die like a beast.
Oh, there's another way to die, sir.
Then tell me, how in our day and age can a man die other than like a beast?
With humility, sir.
Your wisdom is worthy of an executioner. Today one should not be humble man, nor should one die with humility. It is a virtue that in our day and age has become disreputable. With one's last breath, one should protest against the crimes being committed against humanity.
Now that is the business of the living, sir. The business of the dying is another thing altogether.
The business of the dying is exactly the same thing. Here I am at night, surrounded by my books, by the things of my spirit, waiting to be killed before daybreak by you, a contemptible creature, without charge, without trial, without receiving sentence, without verdict, without a priest even, which every criminal is allowed, silently, according to orders, so that no one is allowed to know about it, not even those sleeping in the same house. And you demand humility from me. You feel the shamefulness of this age that makes statesmen of murderers and judges of hangmen, forces the just man to die like a criminal. Criminals fight, you said. Well said, hangman. I shall fight with you.
It is pointless to fight with me.
The fight with the hangman is the one fight left with Poland. That's what makes our age so divine.
Moving over to the window.
My death shall not sink like a stone into this night soundlessly without a cry. My struggle shall be heard. I will shout out this window, out into the street, out into this oppressed city. Listen to me. There is a man here fighting with his executioner. A man is being killed here, like an animal. Leave your beds and come see the kind of country we are living in. Aren't you going to stop me?
No.
I'll shout again.
Do.
Aren't you going to fight with me?
The fight, sir, will begin when I have my arms around you.
I see. The cat is playing with the mouse. Help!
It is quiet out in the street.
Just as if
shouted.
No one is coming.
No one.
You can't hear anything? Not even in the house?
Not a footfall.
Have another shout.
No point.
Every night, someone like you shouts into the streets of this city, and no one comes to help him.
Today, you die alone. The fear is too great.
Won't you sit down again?
Not much else I can do.
You are in despair. I must not die myself tonight, sir.
The hangman always survives. Till now, I have fought with weapons worthy of a man, the weapons of the spirit. I was a Don Quixote questing after an evil beast and a good prose style. How absurd. And now, beaten before I've started, lacerated already by your claws, I must tear away with my teeth, an undertaking equally propitious. What a farce. I am fighting for freedom and do not even possess a weapon with which to combat the hangman in my own home. May I have another cigarette?
If you really want to fight me, sir, you need not ask.
I cannot fight anymore.
Nor must you then.
I am tired.
So is everyone, one time or another.
You must be patient with me. Dying together is too difficult an art.
You're shaking. Let me give you another light.
Just like the other two times.
Just so.
Thank you. Just this once, then I shan't give you any more trouble. I have handed myself over to you.
Like the humble, sir.
Meaning,
Well, nothing is as hard to understand as the humble. It takes a very long time before one can even recognize them. At first, I used always to despise them. But then I saw that they were the grand masters in the art of dying. When a man dies like a beast unthinkingly, he hands himself over to me, allowing me to strike the blow without defending himself. And the humble do just that, but it is different. It is not a surrender from exhaustion. And at first I used to think that it was out of fear, but it is precisely the humble that have no fear. Alas, I thought I had found the secret, that the humble were the criminals accepting death as punishment. But it is precisely the humble who die like that as well, innocent. Cases where my orders to kill were unjust.
that I don't understand that.
Yes, I know. I was confused by it too, sir. I could see clear enough that a criminal could die like that, but that an innocent man as well, now that I couldn't make out. And yet die they did, as if no crime was being committed against them, as if their death was perfectly valid. And at first I always used to be afraid when it came time for me to strike. I really hated myself when I did so. This way of death seeming so insane and incomprehensible. My striking of the blow had no sense.
Fools. They were fools. What is the point in such a death? When a man is standing before the executioner, it is a matter of indifference what pose he takes up. The game is lost.
Oh, I don't think so.
Hangman, you are modest, but it is you who is the main victor these days.
All I can tell you is what I have learned from the people whom my hand has struck down, who died innocent and with humility.
You learn from the people you killed,
I have not forgotten a single one of their deaths.
then you must have a gigantic memory.
I just think of nothing else.
And what did they teach you, the innocent and humble?
The things I can conquer and the things that are unconquerable.
Your power has its limits. Well, you hesitate. If we have sunk so low that the only people left who practice philosophy are the executioners. Let's at least hear what it is.
The power, sir, that has been given to me, which I execute with my two hands, the silver semicircle of the falling blade, and the lightning flash of the knife striking home in the depths of night, or the soft noose that I lay about her neck. This is but a small part of the power that belongs to those who oppress men on this earth. All acts of violence are like one another, and my power is like that of the powerful. When they kill, it is when I kill, it is they who are killing through my agency. They are above, I am below. Their reasons are diverse, ranging from the most spiritual and the most elevated to the most vulgar and the most mean. I have no reasons. They move the world, and I am but a resting axle about which their terrible wheel revolves. They rule, and against the background of their power lies my unspeaking face. In my blood-stained hands, their power achieves its final decisive form, like pus gathering in oil. I exist because all acts of violence are evil, and so, here am I, sitting opposite my victim in the light of a lamp on a desk at night, clutching under my old worn coat at a knife. And men despise me because the shame has been taken away from the great ones of this earth and laid upon my shoulders so that I may take upon all their shame. And men fear me, but the men of power are not only feared, they are admired. Envy, they enjoy their treasures, for power seduces, and men love where they should hate. And for this reason, assistants and accomplices cleave their way to the men of power. Like dogs, they snap at the crumbs of power that fall from the table of the powerful. They come to serve themselves, and the ones at the top live on the aggregated power of those underneath, and vice versa. A dark cortege of terror and violence, avidity and dishonor, that encompasses all, and finally brings to light an executioner whom men fear more than me, tyranny, which drives evermore and greater multitudes of men into the files of its charnel houses, pointlessly because nothing is changed thereby. It merely annihilates. For one act of violence begets another, one tyranny, another, over and over, again and again, like the descending circles of hell.
Be quiet.
You asked me to talk, sir.
Who can escape you?
The body I can take, sir. When subject to violence, all things that come to dust are subject to that. But the things you fought for, those I have no power over. That is what I, a hangman, a man despised, have learned from the innocent people whom my hand has struck down, who did not defend themselves. In the hour of an unjust death, to be able to lay aside pride and fear one's rights even. Now that is a victory far greater than any victory won by the men of power. In the quiet sinking down of the humble, in their peace which envelops me too like a prayer, and the monstrousness of their death which contradicts reason itself. In these things, which are nothing but a mockery in the eyes of the world, not even that, a shrugging of the shoulders, and these things reveals the powerlessness of the unjust man, the unreality of truth, the reality of death, over which I can have no power, over which no torturer can touch, no prison enclose, about which I know nothing save that they exist, and that all acts of violence are imprisoned in the dark, windowless dungeon of their own self. If men were merely flesh, sir, it would be an easy matter for the men of power. For they would build their kingdoms as one might build a wall, square foot by square foot, until all the world was stone. But however they build, however gigantic their palaces, overpowering their methods, clever their plans, sly their plots, in the bodies of the men they dishonor, and with which they build, in that weak stuff lies the reality of how the world is, but the knowledge of how the world should be in the remembrance of why God created man, in the belief that this world must break in fragments that his kingdom may come. The explosive force, mightier than the atoms coining men ever knew, 11 in the heavy mass, overturning the fortresses of power. A soft water forces mountains, grinding their might to sand that trickles through the fingers of little children.
Platitudes. Nothing but platitudes.
Platitudes are all there is nowadays.
The cigarette is finished.
Shall you have another?
No, no more.
A drink?
No.
Well,
Go shut the window. The first tram is going by outside.
the window is shut, sir.
I wanted to say noble things to my assassin, but it is the hangman who has said simple things to me. I fought for a better life on this earth, so that men should not be exploited like animals spanned before the plow. Here, get along, make bread for the rich. And more than that, that there should be freedom, and so that we could be not only as subtle as serpents, but also meek as doves. And finally, that men should not just die in some knacker's yard, or on some clay field, or even at your bloody hands. So that men should not have to suffer this fear, this unworthy fear that one feels at your handiworks. It was a fight for the things that one takes for granted, but it is a bad time when one has to fight for such things. But when it goes so far that your huge body out of a clear sky comes into our rooms, we must become humble once more, for it has become a matter of something that cannot be taken for granted. It has become a matter of the forgiveness of sins and of our peace of spirit. What comes after is not our business. It has been taken out of our hands. Nothing of what we did was lost. The fight will be taken up again and again, somewhere at some time by somebody at any moment. Go on, hangman. Turn off the lamp. The first light of day shall guide your hand.
As you wish, sir.
Good.
You're standing up.
I have nothing more to say. Take up the knife now.
Are you comfortable in my arms, sir?
Very.